Good morning and welcome to another beginning keyboard class. We're going to begin with Alfred's basic adult piano greatest hits, if you'll recall. We did the one, I just want to review the page 2, Love Me Tender. So, as I usually recommend, do a little reading. So why don't we begin by doing a little reading. So if you look up here, starting with the bass and then going up to the treble clef in terms of reading. So it's G, B, D, G, F sharp, G. Now at this point I want to bring to your attention the fact that G here and B, right, and D, so that's a GBD, that's a G chord, right? But this piece is written in G, but for whatever reason, I don't know if he did this because they wanted you to recognize the sharps along the way, which is what I'm thinking. And so instead of having an F sharp in the key signature, which indicates it's in the key of G, they don't have one. But if you look in the very first measure, your F is sharped. And in the third measure, your F is sharped. And so along the way. And so I think because sharps and flats are we're just getting into it. So I'm just assuming, okay, so the bottom line is it could have been in the key signature, it isn't, but it doesn't matter because they sharp it when they need to. So anyway, so back to the first measure, G, B, D, G, F sharp, G, A, C sharp, G, E, A, C, D, G, F sharp, E, F sharp. Now remember, if in the same measure you only have to sharp or flat one of the notes, anything else in that measure is sharped, okay? So we have in that third measure then again, C, D, G, F sharp, E, F sharp, G, D, B, G, B, D, now we're in the second line here, G, B, D, G, F sharp, G, A, C sharp, G, E, A, G, D, C, F sharp, E, F sharp. So, got the idea? All right, so let's continue then. As we play it, your 5 finger is on G, your middle finger, so F, so G, B, right there, is 5-3, and then your 1 is on D, but also in the right hand, your 1 is on D. So remember when we had the C's, both middle C, you had your thumbs, and we did a whole series of things using that. Well, now we've moved up in this simple form, and so we have both thumbs, our number 1 fingers, on D, right? So in the first measure, and I'm just going to go over a few things here before we actually play it, but so you've got your G, B, and then D at the same time. So that's a chord, right? G chord. So, and then you go to G with your 4th finger, and your F sharp with the 3rd, and then G again with the 4th. Then you're going to go up to A with your little finger, which is number 5, and G, C sharp. So if you look at the fingering there, it's 5-2, right? So it's G and C sharp. And then at the same time, you're playing the A. And then in the third measure, you've got C, D, along with a G at the same time. And then F sharp, E, F sharp, and then G and B, D. And then in the second line, you've got the same thing as in your first measure. So those two lines are the same. But now when you get into the chorus, in the third line, you've got G, D, right? And on your third finger, you're using the B. So G, D, B, or remember G, B, D, but your B is up here now, but it's still a B, right? So, and then in the next measure, you've got D sharp with your B's. And then, now, here, this is really important, the transition from one to the other. In the second measure, you've got the G and the C sharp, or excuse me, your G and your D sharp, okay? And that's 5-1, right? And you're still on your third finger up here for the B. And then, because your 1 is on D sharp, that 1 drops down to the E, and then your second finger for the C, and so that makes it a very easy transition from here to here, okay? So, in that measure then, now we're still at G, D, and then we're going to go to G sharp, D, as we go up to C, okay? So, wait. Now here, you've got A, C, but you've got to move. You are up here with your third finger on B, so now you're going 2 on A, but then you're moving all the way down to E with the one finger, and then A with your fourth finger, and then you're going to play the first ending, okay, which is C, D here. And so now you've got to move because you're back to G, right? So you're going to have your fourth finger on G, and that puts you right back into position where you need to be. But it's that transition there in the end that sets you up. So then you go back and as you see in the very beginning, it says slowly, right? So those two lines are the same. Then 5-1, and then 1-2. Now we go to the second ending, which is C, D, and G. Okay? So then let's just go ahead and play it. right, so basically that is the review of that one. So that pretty much takes care of the reviews that we were doing here. So now turn to page 98 of our main book, and now we're going to get into some music theory in the sense that we're going to see how things are laid out. I'll tell you, this particular book, and this is one of the reasons that I'm using it, I mean, I continue to learn from music. I'm probably like a lot of people when I've gone back and forth to playing and not playing for a while and then playing, you know, and I just want to play, you know, so I'll skip things and I'll just move, you know. I'm sure that there's people out there who do the same thing. I don't learn everything along the way, but there are things that are really important, and we're getting into it right here. And so to begin with, now we finished up yesterday with Rocket Away, or last time with Rocket Away, and we were introduced to flats. So now we've had sharps and flats. And so as we begin, as you look at page 98, now we're going to look at half steps and whole steps. And this is really important as we start moving ahead. And it's very interesting because when you start looking at how things are laid out on the keyboard, it will start to make sense to you, as it has to me. And so one of the important things in understanding what is the difference between a whole step and a half step is when you're looking at the keyboard, it doesn't matter if the very next key is black or white, the very next key is a half step. So when you look at B and C, there's no black key separating them, so they are next to each other. So from B to C is a half step. And from C to D, from C to C sharp is a half step. Or from C to B is a half step. And from B to B flat is a half step. So the very next key is a half step. So once you've got that, then a whole step is basically two half steps, right? So if from B to C is a half step, then a whole step would be from B to C sharp, or from C to D, or from D to E, or from E to F sharp, right? So it's two half steps. A whole step is two half steps. So that's pretty simple. Now we get into tetrachords. So what is a tetrachord? Well, to begin with, a tetrachord is, there are some rules, right? You've got to understand a couple of things. One is that it has to be in alphabetical order, number one, and there are 4 notes in a tetrachord. 4 notes in consecutive order. So if you're looking at the bottom of the page, you've got C, D, E, F. That's 4 notes in consecutive alphabetical order. C, D, E, F, okay? So then the last part of it is, and this is where we're using the whole steps and the half steps, in terms of defining what is a tetrachord is whole step, half step, okay? Whole step, half step. That makes up a tetrachord, okay? So a whole step from C to D, that's a whole step. From D to E, that's a whole step. And from E to F, that's a half step. So whole step, half step. That's a tetrachord. It's in consecutive order. There are 4 notes, and it's arranged in whole step, half step. Okay? So, on page 99, if you haven't already done it, there are some examples of getting used to what is a whole step, what is a half step. For example, the very first one up there is a whole step, and the next one is a half step. So if you do those, okay, and then some examples down below here. So it's just some exercises for you to do. So now we're going to get into what is a major scale. Now we've defined what a tetrachord is, but now we're going to understand that a major scale, and in this case we're dealing with the C major scale, is made up of 2 tetrachords joined by a whole step. Okay? 2 tetrachords joined by a whole step. So basically, it would be whole step, half step, joined by a whole step, and then whole step, half step. Okay, so for example, it would be like C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F is a half step. Now you join that with a whole step, so F to G is a whole step, then G to A, so this is the next tetrachord, G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and B to C is a half step. So there you are, the C major scale from C to C, an octave, 2 tetrachords joined by a whole step. Okay? So, looking at the center there, you're starting in the treble clef, you've got your fingering, it's C, D, E. Now you're going under, okay? So we're taking the thumb and we're going under so that we can maneuver all the way from C to C, because you have more than your 5 notes, right? So it's going like this. See here? See how I'm moving? Okay? So in the middle there, they just go this far. Okay, and then with the left hand, you're going under again, under, you're going under, you go 1, 2, 3, and then G, 4, which is 1. Okay, and then when you look at the last part on page 100, so that gives you the freedom to go up and down the keyboard in a way that we haven't been able to do before. So now, with the left hand, it's C, B, A, G with the 1. So this is a major step, not only in our ability to freely, as we get used to this, going up and down the keyboard. But it's a major game changer. So if you look at page 101, the C major scale, they show you, here you've got your C to D whole step, D to E whole step, E to F half step, and then joined by a whole step from F to G, and then G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, and B to C is a half step. So what we have now is an octave. Now we're just dealing with C at the moment, but all the other major scales are basically going to be in that same pattern of two tetrachords joined by a whole step. So whole step, half step, joined by a whole step, half step. So that's an octave, and it doesn't matter what major scale you're going to go into. And I'll just give you an example. We know we were just doing the G major scale, right? And that has an F sharp in it, right? So if we look at the G major scale, I'm going to do it with the right hand here. So G to A is a whole step, A to B is a whole step, B to C is a half step. Then joined by a whole step, C to D is a whole step, D to E is a whole step, E to F sharp is a whole step, F sharp to G is a half step. And there's our octave, G to G. It has an F sharp. So that pattern, as you can see, sets up your major scales. I mean, this is just such an exciting development at this point. It's wonderful. That's all. So if we turn to page 102, they show you the hands and the tendons and everything and the muscles, and shows you how and explains how the way that the hands are, developed and set up, that this allows this thumb to naturally go under, right? Go under either way, that allows you to freely go up and down the scale. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. So here we are again. We've got and then okay? So as we move on to our next piece, which is Joy to the World, you've got a new dynamic sound sign, which is fortissimo, which is very loud. So you've got the F for loud, but then the two Fs for very loud. So, okay, so we're going to begin here, starting with the left hand on C, and then if you look at the right hand is on G up here in the fourth measure. So we're going to be moving down. So C, B, A, and then G, all the way down to C, okay? So here you go from G to A and then F with the left hand. And then you've got F, G, with the left hand, 1, 2, and then your 3 on B. And then here, in that second measure on the second line, you've got E, G, here, 1, 3, and then your fourth finger is going to go, and this is where it's very loud. Now, once you hold that with your foot pedal, right? Let's see. Then, because you're on C up here with your fourth finger, now you're going to change to the fifth finger in the next couple of notes, so that when you go down, see, you're right there where you need to be, okay? And then F, E. So you've got F, G, B, right? And you're holding the foot pedal, and then E, D. Now you stretch all the way up with your, so 1, 5 from C to C, and then A with your third finger. So then you go F with 1, and then you stretch over, just like you normally do, we were just showing you, 3 on E, 4, F and F. Isn't that interesting? So it's and then E and G, okay, so here you're going from C to C, but the value of the notes, it's you've got, it's a 4/4 count, so there's 2 counts there, and there's 3 and a half, and then, right, so. Then, remember your 1 is up here at G. So that you're holding it there, you're on the 4, now you come back to your 5 finger. Okay, so starting here, going down, so switching. So I've got 4. So I'm missing something here. It's from C to C, 3 is on A, then G, okay? So let's try that again. So basically, much of what is in this is the C major scale. You're going on the bass side, starting with C, going all the way down to C, and the same up here. You're all the way up here to C and going all the way. So it's utilizing what we've just learned and applying it to a new song. So that's just very good. So if we can go on to one more thing here, and that is we're dealing with triads here. So if you're starting here, so you know you've got chords all the way up. It's so with the 1, 3, 5, right? And the same with the left hand. So now we're dealing with looking at the chords from the root position and the 3rd and 5th position, which we'll get into more later, but this is the beginning of that. It's where your chord is stacked on top of each other, where you've got one, right? So, dealing with this next cockles and muscles, you're dealing with a lot of what we were just talking about right here. And so you're down here, C, and up here with, and then, so it's G, and then C, E, G here, right? C, and then you're going to just be moving up, just like what we did there. Okay, so again. Okay, so it's basically that's where you're going. If you look at the first line, you start here, it's C, E, G, then it's D, D, F, A, and then it's E, G, B, and then it's F, A, C, and then B, G, back to G, and then okay, Okay, so it's just taking what you have here, and with a simple song, you're applying that. So, so let's play it again. So here we're starting with G. So as you can see, like in the second measure, you're holding that chord for 6 beats, because this is 3/4 time. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and then as you're changing here, you see the quarter rest. Well, then that C is by itself, right? Because you're holding 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you're releasing there at, right? Okay, well, I think that is good enough for today. Don't forget, do a little reading each day in the morning. It will help. And as we continue, I think we'll try to remember that. Okay, let me put my marker in here so that I remember where we stopped. So we're going to the joy to the world, and we did that. So cockles and muscles. So we can go to the primary chords in C major. Okay, so that's what we'll do next time, and then let's try to move on to another piece in this one. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you very much, and happy playing.